Alright, we'll get started by grating up a couple carrots. You want about half a cup's worth total. You could finely dice them, but I think grating them gives them a nicer texture. Followed by a diced green pepper. All the exact amounts will be down below in the description as well as on the website. Once your pepper is diced, you're going to want to go ahead and slice and dice one medium yellow onion. And mince up a couple cloves of garlic. A little bit of oil goes into a pan, and we are going to saute the pepper, carrot, and onion for about 5 to 7 minutes until they just slightly soften. Make sure to season them up, of course, with pepper and a pinch of salt. Once they've gotten nice and soft, add in your garlic. Give everything a nice toss to combine. Go ahead and set that aside, and we can start working on the rest of our meatloaf mix, which is going to include 2 whole eggs, thoroughly whisked, please. Now to our eggs, we will be adding some breadcrumbs. I'm using regular plain breadcrumbs, but you could use panko or even Italian seasoned breadcrumbs if you want. I'm going in with just under a cup. You can always add more if you need it. A little Worcestershire sauce for that umami flavor, about a tablespoon of that. Go in with a tablespoon of yellow mustard or any mustard of your choice. A couple tablespoons of ketchup. And I'm using a meatloaf mix, which, as you all know, I'm very fond of, but you could always use beef, pork, veal, any combination thereof. I'm putting 2 pounds in, followed by about a 1/4 cup of milk, maybe closer to a 1/2 cup, and all of those vegetables. Your best tools here are your clean hands, so just roll up your sleeves and get in there and thoroughly mix all of this together until it is homogeneous. Now, at this point, it's not going to look that pretty, but as long as everything is evenly distributed and it just holds together, you've got yourself a meatloaf. So, let's get a nice piece of parchment paper down onto a baking tray. That makes cleanup a breeze. And form our meatloaf into really whatever shape you want. I like mine to be kind of flat and rectangular, but if you want to do it into an actual loaf pan, that's certainly up to you. Your cooking mileage will vary. We're going to get this into a 375 degree oven for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll check on it. We're looking for an internal temperature of 155 to 160 degrees when we're done. While that's cooking, we can make a glaze for the meatloaf. Every meatloaf must have a glaze, and mine begins with a 1/4 cup of ketchup, followed by a tablespoon of yellow mustard, 1 tablespoon of honey, and my secret umami bomb ingredient is oyster sauce, but again, it's optional. I'm going to go in there with about a tablespoon of that. Mix that thoroughly and set it aside. We'll glaze our meatloaf in just a minute. In the meantime, we get on to these potatoes, which are amazing. So, I've got about 24 ounces or 1.5 pounds of baby red potatoes. They have a really nice waxy texture, which I think plays well with the sour cream, but you could certainly use Yukon Golds or russets or whatever potatoes you have on hand. Go ahead and get them cut in half into some water, bring it up to a boil, season it with salt, and cook them for about 12 to 15 minutes or until they are fork tender. While you're waiting on that to happen, bifurcate and mince some green onions. I'm going in with about 4, but you could do a little less depending on your taste. You know I love my green onions. Now, once your potatoes are cooked through, no need for a colander, just use your lid and drain them out into the sink. Make sure to get as much of that moisture out as possible. Return them to the heat, over low heat, and add in about a 1/2 cup of milk, season with salt and pepper, and then we're just going to smash these up. We're not looking for a super fine texture. We just want to get them chunked up and let that milk absorb into the starch of the potatoes. And yeah, I leave the skins on. You could peel them if you really want to, but I'm way too lazy for that. And I really actually like the texture in the final product. Once you've got them smashed up, we're going to add our final ingredients, which is a whole heaping 3/4 of a cup of sour cream, and most, but not all, of your green onions. We want to save a few to garnish at the end. Once that's in there, just get everything smashed up. You'll be surprised at how creamy these get, and yet still have a nice chunky texture. They're really delightful. Hope you'll give them a try. Now at this point, our meatloaf is about halfway there, so we want to go ahead and give it a nice glaze. Get a brush and just brush or spoon over that glaze, making sure to coat all the sides of your meaty boy. Back into the oven this goes. And when you're getting close, this one's about 145, 150. If you really want to get a nice crust on there, pop on your broiler. But just remember there's honey in there, please, and don't maybe like step away for too long because, yeah, you'll get some brown, or, well, those are just black spots. You know what, though? Honestly, it wasn't ruined, and you can learn from my mistakes, right? So we'll plate this up with a nice bed of our smashed sour cream and onion potatoes. Cut off a nice wedge of that meatloaf. And what did a few extra green onions, or maybe even some parsley, ever hurt? Nothing, I would submit to you. So we'll sprinkle those over, and there it is. A really beautiful plate of comfort food. And even though it did get a little charred on the top, the flavor was none the worse. Now before I eat this, I like to spoon over a little bit of that extra glaze, just for a little bit of extra richness. Plus, if you have it lying around, you gotta use it, right? These potatoes are so filling and creamy, have a nice bite to them for those chunks of potatoes that are still in there. And of course, sour cream and onion is an amazing flavor profile. This meatloaf is so tender, so moist, so rich. This is Comfort Food 101 right here. I hope you'll give it a try this week, but whatever you make sure it's something delicious.